everybody. And on behalf of Artistic Director Loredana Comorana, welcome to the 5th edition of Italy on Screen Today, New York Film and TV Series Fest, which is a festival showcasing the best of Italian contemporary cinema and TV series. In today's panel, we'll be talking about the casting director's crucial role in creating movies and TV series. And we're here with very special guests. I'm really happy and incredibly honored to introduce them. Good evening, Lilia Hartmann Trapani, casting director based in Italy. You work with directors such as Martin Scorsese, Manuel Oliveira, Lasse Armstrong, Ridley Scott, Ben Stiller, Liliana Cavani, and Ildiko Agnelli. And good morning, Margery Simkin, casting director based in LA. And Margery has cast such films as Beverly Hills Cop, Top Gun, Brazil, Field of Dreams, 12 Monkeys, Erin Brockovich, Marley and Me, Pacific Rim, Avatar, and its upcoming sequels. And good evening, Nicola Cunzo, Member of Parliament and actor, active, I would say, both on feature films and TV series. One of his latest movies and roles is the feature film The Two Popes by Fernando Meirelles. Lilia, you recently published a very comprehensive book about casting director's craft.
Yes.
First of all, I wanted to know what motivated you?
Why I did write the book. In fact, I think there is no handbook about casting. It doesn't exist in neither Italian or in English, because I don't know, no books that explains really how our work works. So I thought it could be a good idea, also because in fact, I noticed during many years that I have been casting that there are still major misunderstandings about what our job is. On one hand, there is a confusion between casting director and talent agent.
Yeah.
Also, the word that is used quite often, which is casting agent, just is misleading because it's very deep difference. The agent works for the actors and tries to find roles for the actors. And the casting director try to find actors for the roles. So they are complementary, but opposite. So this is the first misunderstanding that I wanted to cancel. And the other misunderstanding is that still among producer and director, it happens here in Europe at least, that they think that the casting director is someone that has to pick up the phone and check whether an actor is available or not. And so I try to explain that the casting director is not a telephone operator. The casting director is someone that participates to the creation of a movie or a television series or whatever, because we must find the best actor to play a role. So this is a very big issue. And these are the reasons why I wanted to write the book. And also another thing, during the lockdown, 3 months lockdown in spring, I used to do some Q&A with the actors to keep the context. And so I have discovered that really many actors have no idea of how casting director works. They imagine things, they it's a very mysterious proceeding. So I thought it would be good for the actors also to learn how it works, and this will help them to relax and to be less anxious when we meet, and not to feel frustrated when they are not chosen, because they must understand that they are not chosen not because they are not good actors, but because just there is someone that corresponds better to the role. So these are the reasons.
And Margery, we can say really that the casting director's role is really a creative role, because of course, as screenwriters, I'm a screenwriter myself, but as screenwriters, we write and we conceive the characters, but the characters really come alive with the cast that you're choosing. And I mean, can you tell us a little bit about which are the steps you follow in casting? For example, casting for, if you can give us some example of a recent casting you did for one of the movies that you made.
Well, I mean, it's a different process, at least here, between film and television. In film, you're really working primarily with a director and the producer. There you are, and with the director creatively, he's the creative visionary. In television, it's a much more, it's a bigger group. There are the creator of the series. Sometimes that person is or isn't the same as the showrunner of the series, and then there may be other people involved, and of course the studio and the network are much more involved, in my experience, in a television situation. I mean, somebody once described it to me that a movie is dating an actor and a television series is marrying them. And the difference, in a film, you need someone who's good and who can come in and do the part that one time. And in a television series, they're going to be playing that role maybe for 6, 7, 11 years. And so it's a bigger choice in many ways. It isn't just about getting the performance on the day. And I don't know, the steps are, for me, are reading the material. I mean, I think we're serving both, and you'll be pleased about this as a writer. I certainly think everyone who is good at this craft is, servicing the material, the project, and the director's vision. And we're the only ones who have an overview, what happens in the, and we're involved primarily in the pre-production period, which is, very, very different sort of emotionally from the shooting period. And there's a scene which does take place during shooting in Day for Night, where the director is walking on the set, and all the department heads are like asking questions, trying to get answers about a costume, about a wig, about a dog, about a whatever, about a stunt. And that's what happens. I mean, I always feel like, we're all waving to try to get the attention of the creative decision makers. And so it's, for us, we're the only ones that have the overview of the cast in our heads, the way other department heads have in their arenas. So what that means is that when they come into a casting session, they're watching the people that you've chosen to bring them, or lately in this case, it's been, who we're Zooming with like this, and they're looking at that person and that scene, and they'll go, oh, that was a really good actor. And we're the ones that have to remind them, yes, but are they the right match with, you're putting a puzzle together, you're putting together a whole. And as Lilia said, there's a tremendous a lot of misunderstanding about the process and what we do, both by the people we work with and the people on the outside. My line, by the way, about when they say agent instead of director, is nobody gives us 10% of anything. So as soon as they want to give me 10% of the money I've saved on a budget, they can call me a casting agent. But otherwise, I'm a casting.
That would be great. Yeah.
But it's really having an overview, looking at the material, talking with the director or the showrunner about what they're envisioning, and then we take that and we run with it. We try to, in many ways, enhance that vision, because look, this is a simple way of describing it, but maybe they saw it as an older man, and you have an idea that if it was a young woman, that would bring something to the story. And so you propose other options, not always, but sometimes you'll have a perspective, because again, and I think the people outside of film and sometimes even within in this business understand better about, a production designer bringing choices, or a costume designer bringing choices, and then their creative input. And it's exactly the same for us. We're looking at things and saying, how about this? How about that? What if we did it this way? What if we did it that way? And that's really the art of it. Or there's an actor that maybe has always done comedy, and you've seen them in a play somewhere, and they can do a drama, and they don't know that. And that's the kind of stuff that we bring to it.
That's very interesting. The discussion of diversity in the casting process is becoming more and more important, has become a kind of hot topic recently. Certainly more in the US than in Italy and in Europe, because we're a little bit slower. I mean, we're getting there, but we're a little bit slower. How important is diversity in the casting process?
Well, it's always been important. It's always been important, and we've always done this. I mean, to me, anybody worth their salt in this profession has been doing this. I've been doing this a really long time. I'm not going to say how long, a very, very, very long time. The credits start to give you away. You can't lie about your age at a certain point. But we've always done this. I think the difference is that now we're getting a responsive audience. There's times when we've made these suggestions in the past and people have, pushed against it. I mean, I'm old enough to remember that there was a time when no one would talk about it, but there was real discomfort about a couple not being of the same race. No one would say it out loud, but they meant it and you knew it. It was one of those unspoken things. And, of course, now that's a non-issue. And so I think the big difference happening in the US now for us in casting is that the things we've been trying to do for 30 years are now reaching a responsive audience in terms of the decision makers.
And what do you think, Lilia? I mean, how is the situation for you? I mean, in Italy and in Europe, and also in international co-productions, you basically worked. Do you feel the same?
This matter is not very considered for the moment here in Europe, in Italy especially. Well, we don't have these big racial contrapositions in Italy. So it is not something that really people feel important for the moment, which is a pity. I always try to suggest that we use someone that is of another ethnicity, or also someone that has an handicap could be playing a role, not a role written for someone that has an handicap, but in life, someone that has an handicap can be a teacher, can be a clerk, can be whatever. So why not do the same in the movie? Why not use people like this in the movie? But this is still very, very difficult to come through in it.
I think we still have a lot of conscious and unconscious bias. I mean, it's also, yes. I think we're slowly getting there, but there's still a lot to do. There's still a lot to do also in terms of screenwriting. But I feel that sometimes, I mean, we need to present movies and TV series represent who we are, and we are much more diversified than what we see sometimes on the screen, at least here in Italy. So I think you're I mean, in the US, you're doing what you're doing is much.
They are a lot ahead. They are ahead.
But you know what you're saying, Lilia, that's interesting to me is that when we look at Europe, and I guess England's not Europe anymore, so we won't talk about England. But you know, it is, you know, we see it as you know, primarily white, as an you know, primarily white. But what you're saying about you know, diversity isn't only about ethnicity. Diversity is about people of different shapes and sizes. And, you know, again, for a long time, what I'm seeing changing in America is that, you know, okay, they could be a different ethnicity, but they still had to be thin, and now the idea that a leading actress could, you know, have a figure and have a body and look more like the people that you see at the supermarket, there is more of an openness about that. I mean, I think we do ourselves a disservice when we think about diversity only about a range of ethnicity. And what you're saying, Lilia, really reminds me that yes, we are, you know, thinking about people that are handicapped, or little people, or you know, Peter Dinklage in Game of Thrones, I think has been a huge, you know, there's always a performance that opens people's minds and go, oh yeah, no, he's a great actor. It doesn't matter what his stature is, you know, let's start, are there other people like him? And, or when somebody who's amazed, you know, just when you see an incredible transgender performance, then everybody, and those are groups that do exist, you know, throughout Europe. But the other thing that I have learned recently, you know, only in the last couple of years, is that within what we see when we come to Europe, we see everybody as sort of looking vaguely similar. But, you know, prejudice, as you're saying, bias and unconscious bias exists everywhere. And I'm sure there are groups in Italy, and there's certainly groups I know of in other countries that are thought of as less than, you know, within that country for whatever reason. The gypsy population in Romania, you know, who to me I don't really like, or the Arab population in Israel, or that, you know, are thought as sort of less than, you know, within their own countries. And now I see casting directors really making an effort to include those populations. But again, as you're saying, you need the cooperation. We can bring the suggestions and the ideas, but you need the cooperation then of the decision makers.
Of course, of the writer. First of all, the writer should write roles that work, that include these people. So the first step towards inclusion is in the script, and then in the mind of the director and the producer that should accept our suggestions. Also, there are bias regarding the age, regarding the sexual preferences, of course, right. Regarding, yes, like you said, the fact fat people are not so well accepted if they are not for a comic role, for example.
Yeah.
And so, well, not always cinema matches the reality.
Right, but what you said that was so interesting was I think particularly important is, yes, if a writer, like there was a very successful independent film here called Precious that was about a very, heavy young woman and beautifully played by Gabourey Sidibe, who many people didn't know and thought was in fact exactly like that girl, which is not true. It was, completely a performance, a brilliant performance. And then she got opportunities because of the attention she got from that. And I think it opened up, a lot of people's ideas, but it isn't just about playing that thing, but then being able to use, as you were saying, Lilia, people as teachers, as for roles that aren't written for those specific things, but including them in those roles as well, so that someone like Gabourey goes on to play an assistant or a corporate leader or something that has nothing to do with her size, not like the first story that brought her to everyone's attention, or someone who's transgender playing those kinds of things. That is the ultimate goal, is
Yes.
not just the roles for those people, but for them to be seamlessly included and not commented on.
Exactly, yes.
If we think that, okay, script is important, but cast is paramount, do you think that a good actor, a good actress, the good cast for a movie can improve a bad script? It's provoking.
Look, I think they can make things better, but if it ain't on, there's a line in English: if it ain't on the page, it ain't on the stage. And that is really true. And I think, and I'm sure Lilia feels the same way, one of the things you find out in casting, because we'll see one scene played 100 times or 200 times, and if 200 actors can't make that scene work, something is wrong with the scene.
Something is wrong with the scene.
The other part of that is there's a well-known scene here. I am not presuming it's known by an Italian audience. In Field of Dreams, at the end of that movie, where the father and the son play ball together. That scene, I saw easily several hundred people for that part, and a lot of really bad people, like a lot of really bad actors, because everybody wanted to be in that movie, and people wanted to play baseball and get paid for it. I think that's every American boy's dream, or it was at that point. Now it's probably football or basketball, but they wanted to be, it was a dream. So lots of people came in and read for that part. A lot of really bad performances, and I cried in my office every time, because that scene is so beautifully written that it is actor proof. We did ultimately, I think, find someone very wonderful to play it, but I'm telling you, I cried at really crappy performances because it was so beautifully written. But I think it's harder in the reverse. There are some actors, they can find a way on a bad scene, but it's not going to save the whole movie, in my opinion.
I would like to say to this point that sometimes the auditions can help to understand which is the mistake in the text, and so they discover that the scene like this doesn't work, and so the director and the scriptwriter can be inspired to correct it. So sometimes the auditions are very useful also from this point of view.
Agreed.
Great. So I think screenwriters should work immediately with casting directors, hand in hand. Where do you usually scout? Is there anything in particular that you do to scout new talent?
Well, of course, I think not only I, but all the casting directors go or should go to the theater. We go to see the performance of the acting schools. And then also there are many events in Europe where we are introduced to new talents of other countries. For instance, in Berlin, in the film festival in Berlin, there is a thing called
The Shooting Star.
In Stars, exactly. Yeah. So every year we go there and we meet all these shooting stars, and this is very interesting because, for instance, I casted the protagonist of Lilia Cavani's Francesco, meeting a Polish actor, Matthias Konsukiewicz in Berlin. So it's very useful. This is a way to enrich our knowledge. And then I personally, I like when I have time to meet actors and to chat with them, to invite them to my office and to listen to what their story and so on, when this is possible. Or now we can do this by Zoom or by re-audition. It's a nice way to understand their soul. And their soul will tell me if they will be able to give something to their play, because they can be very superficial, or they can be deep, and they can be sweet, or they can be just no. This is to me it is very useful. We don't have often the time to do this. But when it is possible, I like to do it, especially with young actors that are at the beginning. And Margery?
And Margery,
I mean, I grew up, I was lucky, and I grew up outside of New York City, and my parents went to the theater a lot as theater patrons and took us to the theater, and I grew up going to the theater. And you know, one of the pleasures to me of doing this job is that, I mean, whether or not I was a casting director, I would be going to the theater as much as possible. One of the huge sadnesses to me at the moment, and I don't know if this is true in Europe as well, is that the theater has become so expensive that young people really can't afford, the young casting people really can't afford to go with the regularity that, you know, I used to go to. Even off Broadway is expensive, you know, compared to what it was when I was starting. And you know, yes, there are discount tickets. Yes, there's this. Yes, you can make a friend and maybe get in. But that thing that I did when I started living in New York, and I wasn't even working in this job then, you know, I would go to the theater almost every night. And I think that has given me not only an appreciation for particular talent, but a way to develop, you know, the skills that we develop. I think it's as important to see bad things as good things, because you don't understand what's good unless you see what's bad. But I think the substitution for that has become, you know, television series are amazing because you have such an enormous cast, and Netflix now for us, you know, I don't want to just say promote Netflix, but I am going to say that you know, I have been a member of the Foreign Language Committee at the Academy for the entire time I've been an Academy member, which is since 1988, I think. And then when I was on the executive committee, which is this sort of smaller group, I felt an even greater obligation. So I would see like 60 foreign films from around the world a year, which was an incredible gift, you know, in terms of exposure. And I've auditioned and used people that I've seen in those movies. You know, I think of the world as our opportunity now, and especially with Zoom auditions. I mean, everybody is bemoaning not being able to get people into our offices, but I find the world has opened up, and my decision makers since the pandemic, you know, they used to go, well, you know, what do you mean we can't see this person? You know, we don't want to cast this person from Australia or England or Italy because we can't meet them. And now they're used to seeing their mothers and their fathers on Zoom, and they understand how personal it can be. And I think that, you know, there are definitely negatives, but there's definitely positives to how much this has opened up opportunity, you know, across the world. I know that's not exactly answering your question, but you know, all the things that Lilia is saying, but for me, the fact that everybody is now, there were a lot of people who wouldn't watch movies when we would send a clip of an actor and it would be subtitled. That didn't compute. But I think now that people are watching these really popular shows on Netflix and HBO and stuff that are coming from other countries, you know, even something like The Two Popes, where at least it's half in English and half in, you know, Italian, then it sort of gets them in to it has been a tremendous change in the last couple of years. I mean, it's, you know, between this and the open, you know, more willingness in terms of diversity, it's just opened things up. But I think for young casting people, you know, the exposure to talent is watching television series. New talent gets opportunities, at least in this country, in television series that they don't get in film. You know, it's almost impossible. When I put together the cast of Top Gun, almost nobody had done anything. That cast would not be possible today. And in fact, they're doing the sequel, and everybody who's in it has come from somewhere else. So television is really, and I'm guessing for Lilia that may be the same, television is much more open to new, and that's where new people get their opportunities.
We were talking about the new, I mean, some changes that, of course, this year has brought. And did you have to change your way of working dramatically this year? I mean, what are there any new opportunities with both? Yeah, and any challenges that you had to face this year, or has your activity been affected somehow by this lockdown situation? Because here in Italy, you know, many movies stopped and then were resumed. Shooting was resumed, and many TV series. Has this affected your work also for both of you? I don't know who wants to start, Lilia, or have you been affected, Lilia?
Well, besides the fact that for 3 months we were locked down, we didn't work at all. So this was a hard period. But then after this, the work started again with much energy, because they wanted to recuperate the lost time and maybe to go ahead fearing another lockdown. So there, after the first lockdown, there was a lot of work. But what I really miss are the audition in person, because we are asked to avoid them. So we mostly do auditions remote, either through Zoom, or I am very happy to work with this platform called WeAudition. But or with self-tapes actors, and self-tapes, some actors are very capable to do self-tapes, some other are a disaster. But what I miss with the self-tapes is that I cannot interact with the actors. I cannot ask them to change. So they send what they've done and that's it. And I always want, my habit is when I do an audition to let them do the way they have imagined the scene, and then to ask them to change, to see how they react, if they get my directions. I think the personal relationship with the actor during the audition is very important. So I really hope that after this period, we will go back to auditions in person.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And
I'm a little controversial on this front.
Okay.
So I, and my partner that I do the TV series with, Orly Sidowitz, and we love the self-tapes. We find that we are able, when we did auditions in person, you can only see so many people in a day. And the thing about the self-tapes is that it has opened it up to, a much wider group. Yes. And so we see those tapes, and then if we see someone we find is promising, and I'm sure Lily agrees, even when you see an actor who, immediately if they're in the wheelhouse, we say, in the area that you're looking for, or if they're, not going to be right or not going to be strong enough or whatever. So instead of what would happen in person, which is you would feel an obligation, they were there, you had to chat with them, you'd audition them, you'd have them do it another time, trying to be polite, and that takes up 10 or 15 minutes. This way you see the self-tape, and that person, this is not their part. And then if somebody sends a tape and you know them, or you think there's something there, then we call them up and we actually do Zoom auditions with them, and we record them, and we work with them on Zoom the way we would work with them in the office, and I believe, and we've just cast 3 of our series regulars on our new television series this way, and we cast someone from England and someone from Australia and someone from New York. None of them would have ever been people that we would have been able to get in a room in LA. And it gave them the opportunity, and we saw people from all over, and we really worked with them. I mean, what I was saying is, we go into their homes, we take them into their closet, we have a thing before they come to the directors, we go on with them, we have them, we don't like the shirt they're wearing, we have them go into their closet and get a new shirt. We feel we're, once we're committed to somebody being an option, we're able to hone it in a way that sometimes you can't when they're coming in the room. And I think, again, like all of us who have been visiting with friends and family on Zoom, the first reaction was, ew, this is horrible. And now it's like amazing to me that I'm talking with you guys. And and I think we can do the same thing with our actors, and the opposite side of what you're saying about not being able, I think you can work with the actors, and I think it does open up the opportunity and bring to us, I should also say that 2 of those actors have basically done nothing. They were with tiny agencies that I wouldn't have normally been interacting with, and their tapes came in and we all went, wow, they're good. So it did provide options that we would not normally have had, because we can go through a bigger volume of
yes.
That's great. That's great. I mean, this is an incredible opportunity also. I mean, that is coming out, that probably that's very interesting to hear that, because everybody is complaining about the current situation, but this is an incredible opportunity. It sounds much more democratic than before.
In a weird way, it is, and we've been doing this for the last couple of years anyway. In our work, but it is controversial, and most of my colleagues, agree with Lilia and are, missing in person. And I'm not saying that we would never go back to doing some in-person things towards the end, but in that preliminary first period, we have found it to be incredibly fruitful. And yes, there are some actors and older actors that are uncomfortable doing self-tapes, but you just, you help them through.
I imagine, I mean, you have the possibility to choose the projects that you're basically where you're working. I mean, you've been hired and you're hired on very prestigious projects, and also because you're working in the case of particularly of you, Margie, you're working with directors with whom you've established working relationships and there's trust. And I'm thinking about, of course, of Avatar. But let's say, do you prefer to change and to vary, or do you think it would be better, or it's better for a casting director to be specialized in a specific, I don't know, somebody is more specialized in art house films, some more about, I don't know, TV series? What do you think? I mean, do you prefer to keep your option? Do you prefer to change? I mean, it's so every project is a new challenge, or do you think it's much better to specialize? I mean,
well, every project is a new challenge anyway. I mean, I'm working on 2 Star Trek television series, and you would think they would be the same. I mean, they're the same people, it's for the same company, it's the same world, and they couldn't be more different because of the people that are directors and the producers. Couldn't be more different. And for me, there's always variety project to project because of the personalities. That's what makes it fascinating. I get, like actors complain about being pigeonholed, I am pigeonholed. I cannot get out of space. I used to do comedies. I used to do, small movies. I can't get, I mean, it's a joke and not a joke. Avatar and Star Trek, come on, it's ridiculous. I'm very thrilled to be working in animation now a little bit. We're doing I did an animated movie this year during the lockdown, which was, of course, a wonderful thing to do during the lockdown, and an animated 1-hour series, which is a very unusual project that we're doing for Netflix. And that's a nice variety. I mean, we all like to do new things because it makes your brain work different and it keeps things fresh. Right, Lilia?
Yes, I agree totally. I like to do to work on different projects. I like to have to do some casting with big names and some discover some new young actors, and also to do some street casting sometimes, and whatever. And I like, of course, a lot when I can work with a director that I like, that I understand. Sometimes it happens, sometimes no. But it's a different experience than to work for a TV series, for instance. So it's important to work on different projects. It keeps your mind open and in exercise.
Yes. Yeah. No. I think it's the gift of what we do, for me, is the variety of it, that
Yes.
it is never the same. And that's so fantastic.
I mean, you've cast Avatar and Avatar 2, 3, and 4. I mean,
no, only 2 and 3 at this point.
2 and 3, okay.
We're not on 4 yet.
4, okay, sorry, but 4 is coming. But anyway, I don't know. Can you tell us a bit? Of course, I'm sure what you're allowed to say, but if you want to, whatever you want to tell us, we'll be very happy to hear.
Nothing. I can say nothing, or someone will come in and kill me. No. It's and I have to say, one of the things, and it happened with the first one, there was interest because it was, a Jim Cameron movie, but it didn't. But still, we were able to keep the secret over all those years of making that movie. and no one told, and everyone was delighted when they got to the theater and, you know, saw it for the first time. And the thing I admire most is that somehow everyone has been honorable and know information, and particularly the actors, you know, because again, of course, we auditioned, you know, people who know things because they did the auditions, you know, and nobody has cheated, and everybody has, you know, honored and allowed the audience to be delighted, as I'm sure they will be whenever it is this thing finishes, which, you know, my bit has long been over, you know, it's a very long.
It's a very long process, but we're all looking forward to it.
I'm delighted. I'm delighted because if you all go to see 2, then we get to make 4 and 5. So yes, please go.
Of course, of course. And Lilia, you recently worked with Ildiko Eliedi, I mean the Hungarian award-winning
yes.
Director, on her new feature film. And you also work with German and Hungarian colleagues. Do you often collaborate with other casting directors?
Yes, when we do international co-productions, it is quite a habit that there are different casting directors. Mostly there is, well, when we do big American productions that come to shoot in Italy, there is always an American casting director, sometimes an English casting director, and an Italian casting director. In this case, it's an European film, so there is an Hungarian, a German, and an Italian casting director, and we sign, we are credited all together. And it's a very beautiful experience. Yes.
Is there a movie or a TV series, or one of the two, that you didn't, where you were not involved and you didn't cast, and afterwards you said, "Oh, I wish I had cast that"? Is there something like that, or that you thought, "Oh, that was brilliant, I wish I had done it"?
Well,
it's a tricky question.
More than this, wish to work with some specific directors. For instance, I would have liked to work with Terry Gilliam.
And Margie, you worked with Terry Gilliam.
Yeah, exactly.
7 times, yes, he's the best. I mean, honestly,
I love him.
He is the most. But I mean, aside from being a great guy, he is so much fun to do auditions with, because, you know, usually I read all the parts opposite the actors, and he likes to read some of the parts. So we do it as like it's like a little, it's so much fun. It's so much fun. Well, I'm sorry I didn't know you when we were there doing Munchausen.
Next time.
I'm sure he would love to come back and work in Italy.
Yeah, he's amazing. And of course,
we worked with a lot of the same people, so I feel like after this call we should get together and dish about the directors.
Great. You see, this is what Zoom panels also make possible. And of course, you gave really important early opportunities to, I don't know, Margery, to actors and actresses have become huge stars. Thinking of Tom Cruise, Laura Dern, Kevin Bacon, Robert Downey Jr., Johnny Depp, and the same for you. I mean, Lilia. I mean, do these people thank you, or I mean, are you aware that basically the part of their career also depends on you?
Look, first of all, I really, really appreciate that you say we gave opportunities, because a thing I hate is when a casting director says, I discovered somebody. You know, usually when there is somebody talented out there, look, the 2 people we dug out of the small agencies that are going to be in our series, okay, maybe we discovered them. But for the most part, you know, there'll be someone out there that we all know about. And so I feel like I'm lucky enough when I have a part for so-and-so. Like, you'll know, we'll all have been auditioning the same, you know, especially when I was in New York, you know, we all knew these people that had been in a play, and suddenly you had a chance to put them in a TV series and a movie. And years later, people went, "You discovered so," and you're like, "Yeah, no, not really." I mean, but as an example, the Kevin Bacon story is, I think, a casting director story. It's not about me. It's about the things that that you've been asking about. This was for Footloose, and they hadn't been able to cast the lead. They came to New York. I was not the main casting director on it. I was doing the New York portion of it. I was hired to bring in New York actors. And I said, "What about Kevin Bacon?" And the director said to me, "Oh, you know, we thought about him, but his agent says he can't dance. And we need a dancer." And I said, "You know, a friend of mine went to a party with him, and I remember her saying how amazing he was moving in you know, social dancing, that he was, you know, that he was a fabulous dancer. And I think it might have even been he was a fabulous dancer for a white guy." I had been working in dance. I'm not a dancer, but I actually started my first job was managing a dance company. And so I thought it was worth us bringing him in with a choreographer and testing his movement, because we knew he could do the part as an actor. And again, I think that is the kind of thing that casting directors do, and I'm sure Lily agrees, you know, where we go, "Wait a minute, don't take no," or when an actor's not available, so-and-so's not available, and you go, "Wait a minute, what are they doing? When are they doing it? I think I know the other casting director. Maybe we can get the day that we need." You know, we don't take no. I know the myth of us is that we say no. And by the way, every actor that walks in the room, and I'm sure Lilia agrees, every actor that walks in the room, we want to say yes, because then we've found the answer to our problem. We can go on to the next role. You know, we don't want to say no. People think we are the people that sit there and say no. We want to say yes. And similarly, if we see that somebody is the right answer for a part, we push to explore all the ways to make it work.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You agree? Yeah. Okay, I think we slowly need to wrap up. I mean, this is almost, I would say, yeah, 1 hour. I have just one final little question. Any suggestions or any advice that you would like to give in this to actors that maybe are there listening to this panel, actors and actresses, of course. I mean, any suggestions? For example, you were saying before, Margie, about self-tape. Just one advice that you would like to, maybe where they can be better in their self-tapes.
Yes, they should, before they are asked to do a self-tape, they should go around their homes and see, you know, on their computer where the lighting is best, at what time of day, so they're prepared when they get the request. They don't have to stress about, what do I wear, what do I do? Do all of that in advance. That is something proactive they can do on their own without being asked. Be ready to do the tape so that you know what the lighting looks like, whatever.
Okay. And Lilia, do you want to add anything?
Well, I would like to tell them that they must be confident and they must know that the casting director is always on their side.
That's great. That's a great final line, I think. And I'd like to ask Nicola to talk about a new initiative he just launched, the World Day of Italian Cinema. Nicola, can you please tell us something about that?
Hi, and we have this initiative thanks to Minister and of Italian Culture Heritage and Minister of Foreign Affairs, that is called Giornata Mondiale del Cinema Italiano, Italian Worldwide Cinema Day. That is an initiative thanks to all Italian culture institutes that spread in the same time, on the same day, a set of 5 short movies that awarded by David Donatello.
Okay.
And this is a chance for our artists.
That's great. And is it, if I remember correctly, it's going to be June the 20th, right?
Yes, we just celebrated the first one, the first Giornata Mondiale del Cinema Italiano, and we have next year. We need to hope that this situation of emergency can be better. And we have the second one thanks to of course Farnesina, our Minister of Foreign Affairs, and in this week that is called Fare Cinema, that is a week of Italian cinema day in the world. We have the second one, the second Italian Worldwide Cinema Day, la seconda giornata mondiale del cinema italiano.
So we hope next June to be able to see, I mean, to celebrate that and to see Italian movies on that special, on that day, June the 20th. Okay. Thank you very much, Nicola. And I could go on for another hour, but I have to refrain myself, of course. And I really thank you for the bottom of my heart, because that was really, I learned so much. And now when I go back and then I write, or I'm developing projects, I would think about what you're saying, and I will get back to you and ask you further questions. That's a really fascinating job that you're doing. It's incredible, and I think it's really an extremely creative job. So it should be. It's great what you're doing, because you're making what is on paper. This is coming alive, really, and it's thanks to you, really.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Really lovely meeting you both. Bye.
Meeting you.
Thank you,
We'll
Margery.
be able to see each other very soon in person, and happy Christmas.
I just want to come to Italy and eat. I can't risk getting on a plane and being somewhere else.
As soon as this lockdown is over, come over.
Okay.
We'll share a meal somewhere.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Take care. Thank you.
Bye. Take care.
Ciao. Ciao. Ciao.
Ciao a tutti.